Hi, James Kerti here, welcoming you back to the HoopsThink show, where we break down the game and build it back up. Another cool analytics guest today. We're talking with McDonald. He is the CEO of Vantage Sports. They're this really cool new up-and-coming data collection and analysis company. You know, we've heard about Synergy Sports before. We've heard about SportView, including on this very show recently. And Vantage Sports is running a Kickstarter right now. They're raising some funds for this new product they're releasing. It's called Pro Scout, and I'll give you the link right there. And it's a really cool new thing that they're doing. They're already working with a bunch of NBA teams, collecting and gathering a whole bunch of data, and the stuff that they present, these new metrics they've come up with, include stuff like how guys do with closeouts, how they do working with different kinds of screens, both on ball, off ball, and the level of detail they capture is just, you know, incredible, as opposed to some of the other services that'll just tell you that Chris Paul is driving. Vantage Sports will tell you, you know, he did a crossover, he did a spin move, and it just gives you so much more potential for taking a look at some of these new metrics that they have. So I hope you enjoyed this interview. It's a good one, and stay tuned. I got to give a quick shout out to my boys at Brew Pony. If you're a basketball nerd like me, that means a lot of late nights and early mornings, and that means caffeine. But don't drink crappy coffee. Brew Pony delivers fresh artisan coffee into your mailbox every month. It's very affordable. The coffee is fantastic, and I got you hooked up. 10% off if you go there and enter coupon code HoopsThink. So again, that's www.brewpony.com. 10% off with coupon code HoopsThink. Get on it. Hey, James Kerti back with the HoopsThink show, here today with Brett McDonald from Vantage Sports. Brett, good to have you on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Cool, exciting times, man. So just real quick, I already talked a little bit of background on Vantage Sports in the intro, but I'd like to hear a little bit more from you about what makes Vantage Sports so unique compared to some of the competitors out there right now that we've heard a lot about.
I guess the biggest thing is that where we start is with the end in mind. In other words, we started with a data set that was unparalleled in terms of both scope and detail, and then we built technology to get us to that data set. I think that's maybe the biggest difference, is that a lot of the I guess other solutions out there are maybe a cool technology, or they started with a data set like the box score and they're going to put that to video. You know, they're using pre-existing things, or they started with a technology. Whereas we sat with NBA teams, coaches, analytics consultants, the top scout in the NBA, Ryan Blake, and we said, what's the data set we want to get to? And then we built technology to get to that. So at the end of the day, you know, as I was telling you before, we do more data than anyone in the world. 16,000 unique data points. It's super flexible. You can query any question you want. Anyway, it's really kind of a playground right now.
Definitely, man. It looks really impressive. And just tell me a little bit, how did you guys go about getting this data set? Is that something that you can share? Because, I mean, SportView, obviously, we hear about the cameras. Synergy, they record stuff off TV. How did you guys go about getting started with that?
Yeah, so it's a mixture of technology and human analysts, and that's what we got to at the end of the day, is that neither can do it perfectly by themselves. And I think some of what you're seeing in the marketplace is one or the other. And so we have a mixture. So our technology allows us to do things really accurately, efficiently. We do work off broadcast footage, which allows us to scale. We can do NCAA stuff, in the future maybe even high school stuff. So we built really scalable technology, but then you still need humans at this point to do a lot of the contextual work. So, for example, is your hand up on defense when a shot goes up? Yep. Hugely important, and we have data showing the value of a contest, and again, we're able to now measure that. It's something that we're working with our computer vision technology to get to, but again, it's necessary to have humans involved. So we have a mixture of computer vision, OCR techniques, and then humans who are full-time analysts that work for us, for our company. This is their full-time job, so we're extremely accurate. We do, one audit from the league office showed that we're 99.7% accurate. I'm not sure we'd always scale to that level, but it's something we aspire to.
No, definitely, man. It's a great start. I mean, I saw that it was 99.7% accurate, I think, according to that audit.
Yeah, it was just one quarter, but they looked at 15. It took 15 hours and looked at 7,000 data points. Again, there's errors in any system, but we're more accurate than play-by-play. We compare everything to play-by-play at the end of the game and make sure any discrepancies are their problem. And we built a lot of processes around getting to really accurate data.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, it's impressive how to me how deep the data set is. I was poking around on the Kickstarter, which of course I'll link to below this video for people watching. But some of the stuff like just having different guys moves, like Chris Paul cross over to the left, cross over to the right, in and out. I mean, it's just amazing. Some of that stuff. So the moves like that, like the crossovers, is that coming from the computer algorithms, or is that coming from the human people?
It has come from humans right now. We don't have computer vision. Essentially we can get locations, right? Which is what some of the other people, you can get location from either cameras or from our computer vision. What you can't understand right now is, a crossover right to left or left to right.
Sure.
Anything really detailed like that. And that's where we have to have the human layer on top of that.
Okay. And leading on from that, what do you think about how the stuff that you guys are doing at Vantage Sports could help evaluate defense in the NBA a little better? Because I know that's always viewed upon as sort of a weak point for analytics as a whole, even some of your competitors. So what are you guys doing differently in that regard?
Absolutely. So again, starting with the end in mind, as a basketball person, right? When you're watching a game, you say things like, "Oh, that was really good keep in front," right? That guy tried to drive and he kept him in front. Good job, right? Or you'll say, "Oh, that was a really good help," right? His teammate got beat. He slid over. He helped. He diffused the situation, right? So you see these things, really good double team. We know as fans, as coaches, those actions. We're now just measuring that again in a normative way that's broad based. So, for example, every help attempt is tracked. Do you keep the guy in front off the help attempt? What are the significant outcomes from that help attempt? Keep in front opportunities. Do you push them off their line if they get around you, or is it straight to the basket? Every closeout opportunity. Are you closing out? Are you getting your hand up? Are you jumping? Are you leaving your feet? Are you keeping in front? So every constituent part of defense we now break into an event, and then when we roll that up into different metrics, again, it allows us to measure things on the defensive end like we've never done before.
Okay. Man, that sounds really neat. And what are you guys doing in terms of, like, say, team stuff? Because one thing that I think is really cool is how easily visualized you have all the data. So I'm wondering, we kind of saw a lot of stuff like on the Kickstarter and some of the other places where you guys put out some examples of what Vantage Sports can do. Like, a lot of it is centered on individual players. Is there an aspect to scouting teams as well?
Well, certainly, and all of our metrics, can be viewed in kind of team or player base. So what's really interesting now is you can start to say, okay, let's talk about a team. How many open shots do we generate in our offense? How do we generate those open shots? What are the personnel that we need to have on the floor to take advantage of those open shots? So we showed, last year, for example, the Jazz, I think we tweeted something about this, the Jazz had a really high efficiency in terms of getting people open off screens, right? But they couldn't convert. They weren't making open shots off screen. So we're now able to go from, kind of broad-based, are you efficient or not? That's been answered by, just running points per possession or points allowed per possession, and really break it down into why and where and who, and it really helps teams now start to figure out the personnel, the strategy, and that's where it all goes from a team perspective.
That's really helpful to hear. And one thing that I like about some of the metrics that you guys have introduced is, from an analytics perspective, I feel like the analyst always kind of looks at things from a process perspective, while a lot of, fans or maybe non-analysts look at things more from a results-based perspective. And it seems like a lot of the metrics that Vantage Sports is introducing are more process-oriented. Is that something that you guys did consciously?
Well, what's great about the flexibility is that we can do both. Okay. So, for example, for anything you can think of, say for screens, right? We have a number called points per screen, right? Points per chance by your screen. So that's really outcome oriented, right? Like that's the actual amount of points you're generating by your screens. But we also have numbers on how solidly you're setting screens, how many open shots you're generating. So again, that's more process, right? Are you actually setting good screens? Are you rolling? What are you doing there? Are guys just missing off your shot? So it works for people that just care about outcome. All I care about is, at the end of the day, how many points you produce or stop. That's great. But it also works for people that maybe take a different view and say, I care about how you're doing things, and it can more process. So the flexibility of our data we believe can satisfy both approaches, and that's what we pitch at least.
Really cool, man. And a couple more questions, and I'll get this wrapped up. I know you got to get going soon. When it comes to the NBA clients that you have, because I think I saw online you guys have, last I counted, was like 13 or something NBA teams that were working with you guys. What are some ways that the teams themselves are using Vantage Sports data? Is that something that you can share?
In the past, other services have been used kind of strictly for either the video component that they possess or kind of the data.
Right.
What we're trying to do and show to teams is that we can marry the two. In other words, with accuracy problems, with some things they just use it for video, and then again, maybe some different data sources didn't have the video. So what we're showing is that you can have both in one package. So we have an app for scouting for players that players really like. So you can put in front of a player, the first thing they do is open themselves. We think the future is in getting players more information. This is maybe the dirty secret of the league, but teams don't have the resources to really mentor players really specifically, right? It's up to the player. Teams are just really busy, and of course, in the course of the season, they're worried about again how they're dealing with opponents the next day. And
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So while they get some attention, there's just not the resources there. So we believe the future is in players kind of taking it upon themselves to learn this stuff to get better, and it's creating products that communicate to them. So we're actually working with trainers, individual players, and in other words, getting them the information they need in a way they need it. We're doing things like that. We work with the hardcore number people, and sometimes just give them blasts of JSON data, and then with the scouts that still maybe don't believe the data, they just want to get video. We allow you to get to very specific situations, anytime you want with really good video. So. It still is very dependent on the place of the team and their view of things, which there's still a lot of flux in the league, to be honest.
That's true.
Not everyone's in the same place with all this stuff.
Cool. Well, I think the way that you guys are allowing the data to be so easily visualized, I think that's going to help a lot with the players being able to look at this and grasp quickly and easily, what are some things that maybe they're doing really well and what are some things they can improve on. So as we wrap this up, man, and thanks again for taking the time to stop by. Right now, the Kickstarter is open as of the time that we're recording this. So fans can head over there and check you guys out a little bit more, hear about what's in it for them. So just, as we prepare to depart this interview, what can people look forward to if they get on the Kickstarter?
What we're really interested in testing and trying to get out to fans, and we've done not a great job in doing that so far, to be quite honest. We're still kind of in the background. We're trying to get more exposure. The world that we'd love to live in is a world where fans, people like yourself, anyone is on an informational parity with anyone else in the league in the world, really. And since we have what we believe, again, is the best data in the world, we'd love to democratize that. We'd love to give fans access, writers, media personalities, everybody more access. We think that the state of where we find ourselves, where the best people or information are kind of hidden behind walls of organizations, we think that's sad. We think fans are what drive the industry, and to the extent that they want it, we'd like to provide it. So the Kickstarter is an attempt to start to do that, to break down the walls, lower price points, and start to provide this information more broadly if people want it. And that's really what we're trying to test and trying to get out there, because we'd love to give it to everybody, really, to give the insights that are available to everybody. I'm not the smartest person in the world. My team doesn't have the corner on insight or analytics, right? So wisdom of crowds, we agree with that concept. And so anyway, that's the attempt with the Kickstarter campaign.
Cool, man. I think a lot of people can appreciate that kind of transparency. That sounds great. So thanks again for stopping by, man. And, maybe can have you on again sometime. This is fun.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for watching this video. Really enjoyed hearing from Brett, especially about some of the defensive metrics that Vantage Sports is going to be bringing to the table, both for teams and also especially for the fans and the media. It's, like he said, it's nice having that kind of transparency and having some more of this really incredible data available for, the average person out there to be able to take a look at and really dive into. So I'm excited to hear what they come up with. Definitely check out their Kickstarter. You have the opportunity to get in on some really cool stuff that they're doing right now. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you know of somebody who'd probably enjoy watching this, definitely pass this video along. Love to get as many people involved as possible, and get on the email list at HoopsThink.com.